Now we have Professor Fradejas. This is our expert in stylometry. I have to say that when I've been in his lectures, it's very, very funny to hear him. He has he makes amazing things with the corpus, with the poetry, with everything. So I hope you enjoy this last session. José Manuel, the floor is yours. Enjoy.
Thank you very much indeed. Salva always takes me to these gatherings. We will use another word in Spanish, aquelarre. And it makes me happy because once upon a time I worked in this university, but it was last century. Just before 2000, I moved to Valladolid. So I won't be joining you this evening to the dinner. I have to catch train because tomorrow morning I have to be teaching at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I will make in this afternoon I'll try to make enjoyable because most of the things that I wanted to tell you has been already told to you in the previous session, how to use a stylo and all the things that are behind this marvelous library written in R. I will doing a hands-on topic. I'll be doing a study case. It's the first. I don't usually speak English in my teaching. My students are of Spanish, not of English. So I can speak English, as you can see, but I not usually use it to address an audience. Well, I'll be working. Well, the problem we are dealing today is an old Spanish text. And we'll build the corpus, although you have in the drive the corpus already to save time or to use it this afternoon, tomorrow, when you want. You can contact me at any time. At the end of the presentation, you will have my email, my Twitter handle, so you can contact me at any time because I will present a tool that is not also already released to the public. It's a marvelous tool we've been working. I've been told several times next October will be liberated, but it was before 2020 when I was told that for the first time. And ever since it's the same story. The problem is that sometime between 1201 and the first half of the 13th century, it was written in Spanish, the Book of Alexander. It's a book that recounts the story of Alexander the Great. This book is mostly based on Gautier de Chatillon's Alexandres, a book wrote in Latin sometime between 1178 and 1182. The problem is that we have this text lies within the realm of a school of poetry, the Mester de Clerecia, that is a poetry wrote by the clergy. And these lines is where the basic of this poetry school lies. It says, Mester de Clerecia, the words are the line in red, and rimado, that rhyming words is lines written in with rhyming, and in the kind of stanza they are using, this is the quaderna via, with counted syllables. So they have a certain number of syllables, they have rhyming words, and it's a very special kind of stanza. It's 4 lines every stanza, 14 syllables long, and rhyming all of them between them. So, ia. Is that the rhyming? Well, the problem is that we have 2 large copies of this manuscript, this work. There are some other copies. One of the manuscripts is housed at the National Library in Paris, and the other one is here in Madrid, the National Library of Spain. But the problem is that the Paris manuscript said that this work was written by someone called Gonzalo de Berceo. And the Madrid copy said it was by Johann Lorenzo of Astorga. Besides this dispute between two writers, we have a dispute of linguistics, because the one from Astorga is the blue point to my left, I think. No, that to my right. Astorga is on the Kingdom of Leon. They have a very specific kind of language, and the other one is from La Rioja with easterly characteristics. While all these poets, this school of poetry, got together in just one place at the University of Palencia. It seems that they probably is a school that was born there, so they have very similar traits. The problem is to establish which one is the real author. We have Berceo. We have plenty of works of him. We are only using these 4 works: Los Milagros de Nuestra Señora, Vida de Santa Oria, Vida de San Millán de la Cogolla, Vida de San Domingo de Silo, and 2 other works that are the Libro de Apolonio y Poema de Fran González. Berceo's works are hagiographic, retells the stories of a few saints. The Libro de Apolonio is the life and deeds of Apolonio of Tyro. And the Poema of Fran González is the great hero that got the independence of Castile from the Kingdom of Leon. To test that these works, these things work, the style really works, even with all the Spanish texts, I will be using the Libro de Buen Amor. We have 3 copies, El Rimado de Palacio and the Libro de la Caza de las Aves. These 2 last works are from the same author, Pero López de Ayala. The problem is that the Rimado de Palacio is poetry and the other one is prose. But to make some test, I think is good enough. The first problem is to get the data. Johanna has told you that be careful when collecting your corpus. Well, for the Spanish medieval text, we have a great database corpus of medieval Spanish, all Spanish text. It was devised in the early 70s, before computers were something popular, even before all of us dreamed that computers could be used by any of us. And they wrote, they started this corpus with the idea of writing sometime a dictionary of all Spanish language. And this textual corpus was published a lot of editions and text, no edition, text, because they were semi-paleographic transcriptions in a very very funny system, microfiche. Every page was printed and afterward was a photograph. But we kept the tapes with the transcriptions. So by the by mid-90s, we converted into CD-ROM when they became popular. This system of transcription, this is an edition of mine of Ayala, that I use in my PhD dissertation. This system is a very simple transcriptional system. Use a very little in tags to mark a few things. You have RMK here is the metadata, and you will see greater than and less than signs to mark the expansion of abbreviations. Sometimes you will find another marks to mark tags to mark rubrics, additions, deletions, all these things. It's a system that has been used, as I told you, for a long time. And one of the offsprings of this project is a great database, no, not that fast, is Philobiblon. This database is the greatest union catalog for medieval Spanish text. It started for Spanish, and later it was added Catalan and Portuguese. Now it's known as Philobiblon. Now they are switching from the old XML system they have to Wikidata system. They just giving a grant last week to switch it to a new system, because maintenance is very hard with all this system. All the text that was transcribed were almost lost when because computers change, as you all know. These things were made with mainframes, and nobody could access text. But by early 2000, Gago Jover took them and put it on a website. This website you have on the screen, the Hispanic Medieval Studies website, and you can access any text from their for their corpus. They have divided into several subcorpus to make things easier. You have prose works of Alphonse the Wise. You have Spanish medical texts, a huge collection of texts of medieval Navarro Aragonese text that's written on the eastern part of Spain, Spanish legal texts, a lot of books on law, biblical text. There's a pretty large corpus in flat text, plain text, with very simple marking. Don't think on Tay. That's much easier than Tay. It was a problem. It was too easy, so it wasn't spectacular, but you will see it was very spectacular. And you can download any text from here. You have here the poetic text. Is where you can draw the text we are using this afternoon. You have the pointing hands to the text, Libro de Apolonio, Libro de Alexandre, Poema de Ferran González, Obras de Gonzalo de Berceo. The problem is quite easy. You go to the text, you can do select text, Control-C and Control-V on your predilect editing text app. I use in PC, I use Notepad++, but you can use whatever you wish, you are comfortable with. The problem with this kind of cut and paste is that you have to do a lot of cleaning. You need a huge cleaning kit to get rid of all the tags. So I won't be using it. Besides, because how the database was constructed in the 80s and 90s, sometimes the works are just in one manuscript, not divided into works. All Gonzalo de Berceos are just one manuscript, and there's no limit to get to one work or another. So this database, it was almost forgotten until the second half of the 2010s, when a guy in the United States, Francisco Gago, thought, well, we can do a new database called All Spanish Textual Archive. And this database took all these texts, create an app to post tag, part of speech, tag it, lemmatized the text, and offer the text online, so you can see the text and the tags below. And you can search this database in several ways. The simplest, *** search, buscar, is in Spanish. It's made in the United States, but it's in Spanish. They are doing an interface for English-speaking people. So you can select any word. You just put this and get the words. I will do an example in a few minutes. You can make search by words, by lemmas, by grammatical tags. You are interested in studying the subjunctive verb in any period or any sort of works, you can do it just in a few seconds. You have all the data with you. I have to change screens, so let me get out of here. And now this out. I'm coming to. I will. Compartir. Okay, here we are. Limpiar. This is the place, the address. I can give it. Well, it was on the PowerPoint. You will have it because I have sent it to Salva and he will share it with all of you. We can, for instance, I want to get all the tests for the Libro de Alexandre. I can do it as easy as this. I come to this box, is paleographic form, dot asterisk, and say it, create consult, crear consulta. Now I select the word. I can do it in two different ways. With the código HSMS, but that's a little bit messy. It's better to go to the title of the work. If I come here, I write Libro de Alexandre. Well, it will open the Libro de Alexandre. I said there. And I hit now buscar. In a few seconds, it's searching. Depends on the internet, not me, not my computer. It's fetching some 70,000. Here you are. Just fetch almost 75,000 words in a quick time, keywords in context display, where the red word is, you read here, señores, quisiéredes mío servicio prender, is the, you are reading from top to bottom the work. If you hit the numbers here, I know, yeah, know that there, you come to this display where you have the whole page as is the manuscript. You have the image, you have the transcription. If you put the mouse on it, you have the label with the grammar, the post tagging. That's an article in creer, an infinitive, VMM, verbo creer, dilemma. So you have a lot of information. I'll go back here. Get back to this material. I can download it because, sorry, it's very difficult. You have here this download as a TSV file. As soon as you click in here, at some moment, the test will come down to your computer. 1-2 minutes will take. I have a copy already down here. I'm going to somewhere else. Sorry, using these screens is very difficult for me. No, ventana, pantalla completa. Sorry. Compartir.
Computer Science. Claro.
¿Qué? No, quiero abrir R ahora. No, directorio. Sometime here I get a file. I have downloaded. It will say OSTA resultados, a series of numbers. That series of numbers is a date and timestamp. If I open it, it's a little bit risky. It will be the huge table, 17 columns wide and 75,000 lines long. We are only interested in here in the middle column. That's the look inside the file. We are only interested in this column where you have, I hope you can see it, the aquí is the token, as is on the text, the lemma between the plus, large than and less than signs, and between square brackets, the grammar post tag. The context before and the context after. You can download it and well, you have downloaded it and you can work with it. From here, why I use this? Because I get rid of all the expansion, abbreviation, expansion tags, all the add, delete tags that the text have. Now I have a plain text, but I have to build it because I only want to take the first column. That's where I go to R. You have a little script on your computer, on the drives. I will use it now. I think you have used this before. This is the R Studio. I'm using it. I'm loading Stylo because we'll use it later. I'm loading Tidyverse. This is a very interesting library to manipulate data. And now we are going to read. Well, it takes a long time to read the poem. Let's clean it. The first line will read the downloaded file from the website with all the text. It's a poem. Here you have the same table. No, eso sois vosotros. Okay. Esto es algo que sale por aquí. The little square. You have here the same table I have show you. Here's the central part. Sorry, the script is very small on the screen. It's not my fault. It's the screen's quality. Well, we can close it. And we want to convert it in just one text without all the rest of the information. Well, we can say it. Well, get this column. Get from this column just the first part of the column. Is this section? I lost my. Where are you, mouse? Okay. I will use this to split this central column into just the text. So I run it. I will come to a new variable here. Poem. We have just the central column. Now we get the first column, that is word. If anybody has any question, you can stop me at any moment. Now we are taking just the word column. We are getting all the single words in one long line as a text. I'll write here. Espero que me dejes. It says very long. It's not letting me because it's a very long file, says. Okay. Now we have in just one variable the whole text as a single text. So now we can write it to your directory. Is the same type of files that you have on the Google Drive, where you have gathered the data. Let me go. Suppose that you have downloaded. It will say something like corpus and corpus rhymes. Does it? Yes. Well, we will be using this data because I'm not losing time in downloading every text, changing the names, and going through the whole process. As I said when I started, don't hesitate to write me to my email, through Twitter, whatever you wish, to asking any question on how to do this, on how to work with it. It's a hands-on on a very special text. We have the corpus text in here, all of them. First proof test I will do is to see if this works with medieval texts. Because will it work or not? Before wasting more time and being sure that it will find any signals that detect that the authors are possible. The problem here for me is that using this PC is a bit awkward because they have a very strange system of files. I have to go to the escritorio, Madrid CLS INFRA, all Spanish corpus. I will test first, do the first, this, Fernán, ay, lo odio. Fernán, Apolonio, Alex, X. I have to put it somewhere else. Control V. Wow. That's the problem. I don't know how these cooking programs do it. They make magic. I can't do it. Well, now the corpus file has Pedro López de Ayala works, Berceo works, and Libro de Buen Amor works. 3 works that we know who the authors are. We are going now to run Stylo. Do you know already how to run Stylo? Using current directory. I hope you are. We are telling this plain text is Spanish native encoding. I always mark this because Windows is very peculiar with the coding of the characters when you have non-English characters. And I will only take these features, words, 100 words, and I will use statistics, cosine delta, and I won't touch anything else from the library. I will let it run. It's starting to run. Here we have the plot. Now, what I want to is zoom it so you can see it now. You can see it. You can see on top of it, 2 red works are Ayala's works, just one author. The 4 works by Berceo in one group, cluster, and the Libro de Buen Amor in another LBA text in another group. I'm using semi-paleographic transcriptions with a lot of peculiar things. For instance, the word mujer in medieval Spanish can be written up to 60 different forms. But as this works with function words, this word has changed very little in Spanish for the last 800 years. Prepositions, well, some of them have disappeared, some conjunctions have disappeared, have been updated by others, maguer, ka, but most of them are still the same very words. And it's working. I believe it's working. Now we are going to see if Berceo is the author of the Libro de Alexander. Now we have to go again to fight with we have to take out these 3 works. Ayala. That's the worst thing of doing this. X going up. And recovering Alexander, Apolonio, and Fernand. What we are going now to see is if López de Ayala, Berceo could be the author of the Libro de Alexander. I did something wrong because these 3 X, no, X. Let me check. I have Alexander, Apolonio, Berceo, and Fernand. We have all the Clerecia works now here. Let's go back to Stylo. You know how it works, Stylo. As we are using the same directory, nothing has to be changed. We have the basic things. We are using 100 words only. We are using the same statistics, cosine delta, and we are doing anything else. Let us run it to see if slicing. Here the answer. Well, it seems that Alexander, the libro de Alexander, is not by Berceo. However, it seems that Apolonio is quite close to. Berceo was the author of Apolonio. Let's think. Let's have a look with a little, getting more words to see it. We are increasing it to 500. Features, 500. Slicing. It takes a little bit of time. No. It seems that when you increase the number of words to most frequent words, Apolonio is not so close to Berceo. It goes with the other three works on, by other Eclerecia authors. One warning, Fernand and Apolonio were not written by the same author. They have to be on the same group because these work 2 by 2. So don't think that Apolonio and Fernand González were written by the same author. It's the machine that has to work in this way. But it's clear that Berceo is one set. And someone before asked about the numbers. See the long lines to where these works can get together, where branch. They are quite different. There are several proofs that tests we can run. One of them is an increase. Instead of going 100, 200, 300, 400, up to X hundred words in incremental steps, I will do it now with a consensus tree to see what happens. Stylo. It's not the same for me to speak in Spanish and English. I'm suffering because I'm trying to do my best, but it's not the same. Dealing with a Windows machine is a nightmare. It's for intelligent people. Okay. What you said? No. I can't speak English, but it's the fight with the computer. The problem is the fighting with the computer. Because it's not me, it's the computer. Which part of the screen I am? Where's the mouse? Because I get lost. Well, we are going now to use from 100 to 1,000 in incremental in increments of 100 words. We are using the same cosine, but now we are using the consensus tree. Thus, it will calculate 10 different dendrograms and fit them together. We have to wait for it. It seems that Berceo is not the author of Alexander. We have this group here and these are over here, making two different clear groups. We can make mock test. One of them has been in touch to you by the PCA. We can run it and we'll see what happens. In the PowerPoint, you have more images with different stages. You can repeat it yourself because I'm getting very nervous to copy, paste, delete, copy, paste, because that's the problem with a Windows machine. It's not very easy to move files between directories. On a Mac machine, it's that easy, not in here. And also in a Linux machine, it's much easier than here. I'm going to run a PCA now. I already know that the Berceo is not the author of the Libro Alexander. It's clear for me by now, but we are going to run some more another test. We are statistics, PCA correlation. Now features. I will take only 100 without incremental pace. And a few secs. Here you are. On the horizontal axis, you have 68% of the features. So that's the best place for the interpretation of the diagram. Where is Alexander? Too far to the left of the... While Berceo is just in one corner. All Berceo's works, so it's clear that Berceo can't be the author of Libro de Alexander. We can do it with many more, increasing the number of words and doing many more tests. But I think it's not worth to lose time. You can do it at home, on the train, on the plane, if you get bored. Because now, if I can manage to get, I'm lost in my computer by now, because that's what we have done. I will tell it and recap what I have told. From the files I have downloaded, I created this text you have on screen for every text with this file, with this short R script. This is a little argument here. I open a huge parenthesis. There's a tool that we have created, not me, the people I work with. This is this app analyze any Spanish medieval, all Spanish texts, analyze it, adding grammar information and lemmatizing. I'm going to run now with just one file, so you can see it. It's very easy. Process one or more files. I'm going to use this text. That's a 14th century copy that is called the Real Academia Española manuscript. It was the text, base text from my PhD dissertation sometime last century. And just now is running. In less than 1 or 2 minutes, we have on screen the results. We have to wait, as in the cooking programs. Cross fingers. Too many screens, too many windows open, and it can stuck. Any questions in the meantime while we are waiting for the machine? Here you are. Here you have the text completely analyzed. I will explain you a few things now. No, trying to go to this screen. Yeah, okay. You have here the text. When you see words in red, these are words that couldn't be analyzed. And you are given the opportunity to correct them. If I go to Daniel's, that's here in red, it comes to these little boxes. Daniel's is the token as is in the manuscript. Now it asks me, which is the lemma I want to put? This, I know this is a proper name. I correct it. I put Dancos is the correct name. And now it says it's not a common name. No, it's a proper name. So I correct it. If I know all the tags, I can put it by heart, but I can go to this screen and say, now it's a proper name, is a person. Finalize. Just correct it. I hit the add, and this is incorporated to the dictionary. It's added to the dictionary. Next time somebody uses the system, this word will be corrected. Sometimes the changes, they are in red, just because are different spellings. We have usamiento here with V and with U, two different spellings from the same word. We go here, we correct it, not on the box format, but in the box lemma. So we standardize, we give it the lemma, and the grammar is correct. Forget about it. It's not corrected. I don't know if we are getting another color here. Yes. No, that's when it's blue, it thinks that it has clitics on it, but sometimes they are not clitics. This is the case of this doraje. This word is not eclectic. It's an Arab word. We can leave it as it is and say, forget about it, or we can mark it as a foreign word in the transcription with a special label. Sometimes the machine gets confused with clitics, but as you can see, there are all the words that you are seeing in red are Arab words that were just translated into the text, are bird names from Arabic. Here you have it. So, ¿qué quieres? This is the screen. You can see it better here, I believe. Well, not much better. You can correct here. Sorry, no. No, we can do it. Well, you have seen already that we can answer this question gathering the text from somewhere else. That's this slide, what it tells that we can use normalized text, as you can see it here on the upper part. I used it in 2017 with the complete work of Don Juan Manuel. On the upper side is the transcription as published by Carlos Alvar, regularized. Underneath, you have the same text. Underneath, you have the same test running with paleographic transcriptions from the Seminar of Medieval Studies. As you can see, it's the same results. Probably the leaves move from right to left and reorder a little bit, but it isn't worth to worry about, at least for Spanish, medieval Spanish, using these transcriptions to regularize texts or not. That's my experience. That's the results of the test running with a stylo with 500 words, 100 words. As you can see, it works always. It tells us that Gonzalo de Berceo is not the author. The PCA, that was a test to see how it works, but I save it because Joanna used it with you before me. And here you have Berceo in the lower corner, while Alexander is too far away from it, so it helps us to know that he's not. The second part of this presentation is we have been using the most frequent words, function words. The question was raised by the paper by Mike Kestemont, one of the authors of the Stylo package, if rhyming words can help to find the author of a text. Here the problem is how to get the rhyming words. Again, the new, in this screen you have now the rhyming words, how many times is they come out in every of the texts, Alexander, Apolonio, González, the most frequent rhyming words. Those of you that know Spanish, all Spanish, you can see that most of the words are semantic words. Substantives, verbs, adjectives, no function words. Probably you have nada. Well, can be discussed, this word. We can get the rhyming words with this app also, from this website. As simple as using at the end of the, in here, putting this tag. We are assuming that the text word and the transcriptions the lines of the manuscript correspond to verse. We know, I know because I have checked the manuscripts, other doesn't happen, so you have to think a workaround. And I have used this to get just the rhyming words. If you look at here, you can see it because the screen, you can see anything. You have the word prender, mester, ser, caer. All they are rhyming words at the end of the first stropha. Joglaría, clerecía, vía, maestría. Creer, placer, retraer, conocer. Are all the words, rhyming words at the end of every line of every stanza. We can download it in the same way, with the same script. We can get these columns, these files. Every file is just the rhyming words in order from the first stanza to the last line of the last stanza. So I can use it within Stylo. The same kind of file as we have seen how to do it, to convert it in this file. With this little script, you have it. I say it again, if you have any problem with it, please write me in English or Spanish, not any other language, no German. Well, I have run it with a Stylo. I can do it now if you wish, but instead of running the app that is very slow, I will show you the dendrograms, because as Joanna said, I can export them with just one function as GPA, as SVA, SVG, as PNG, as PDF, a lot of formats. So you can put it on your paper, on your website, on your Twitter account, wherever you want. And it seems that with 100 rhyming words, the rhyming words can detect the authorship of a text. As you can see here, Berceo is just one branch, and Alexander keeps in the same branch as Apolonio and Fernan González. And we are using the rhyming words. So it seems that every poet, or at least Berceo, has a very peculiar way of rhyming his poems. We can get more 500 words. The same happens. And here we have only semantic words. We have a single word, well, nada. Very few words but it won't be of any help. The same, we do a consensus tree, and it seems that it helps to see that rhyming words could be a good signal to establish the authorship of a text. PCA, also. Here we have a strange thing. The Saint Millán goes somewhere else. Probably because it's the shortest text. Joanna told you that be careful with the length of your files, of your corpus. Don't use very long text and very short text. The Libro Alexander are some 10,000 words long, rhyming words. The Saint Millán is just 2,000. So that can be the tricky part of this experiment. Too short text. But as you can see, Berceo stays in one group. The other three works go to somewhere else. And the strength here is, as I said, Saint Millán. We can do it more. The conclusion is that Berceo is not the author of the Book of Alexander, and that rhyming words seem to be a good element to detect authorship. And now I have here the addresses, my addresses, so you can get in contact with me. I'm truly sorry for being such a mess. Doing this I got it from my department, this computer this morning, because it's not my usual computer. If you have any questions, I'm open to them.
I just had a question about the last thing you mentioned, the conclusions about rhyming words. And the question is, does it only work if it's the same type of stanza? Meaning we're talking about quadernavia, if I am correct here, through the examples you mentioned. So does it work if we're comparing sonetos and say something else?
Feel free to do it. Feel free. I haven't done it. I don't like to work with poetry, but there was after reading Mike Customer's paper, I said, I have a good text. Liberal Alexander, I have so let's do it. I didn't think on any other poetry. I may ask Laura Hernandez that can do it with Fernando de Roja. No, Fernando Roja, no me líes. De Herrera. Rojas se supone que es el de... it's supposed to be the author of the Celestina. Herrera, we can see it with a Golden Age theatre. Stylometry is open to any search query. You probably will lose 1 week or two of fooling around with your computer, but you can find very interesting things. That's the good thing. That's how I started. In 2015, I didn't know what even R was, apart from being a letter from the alphabet. I sit on my computer, in front of my computer. I wrote a few words on Google, and M.L. Joker's book on R for literary students of literary of literature was magic for me. Afterwards, just good in doing the right questions to Google, you have the answer to any problem you want to solve with R or with Python or with any other programming language. So don't be afraid of computers. They can get you fed up. Close it, take a coffee, break, get back, and probably you find the answers.
Any more questions? Okay, I have. No, that's a very simple question. Well, it's not a question. Until now, almost all the speaker has been people from computer science. So for us, it's easy to use the computers and, of course, the programming. But I know that you are not for computer science. You are a linguistic scholar. Yeah, I said correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like that you tell us, because almost all the people here is from humanities fields. Maybe not the experience that you have suffered with the computers, but some tips, something that could be useful for all the people who is in the conference to how you say animar. To encourage, thank you very much, to encourage to use the computers and give the jump into this fantastic world of stylometry, Python, and so on.
Well, once upon a time, when I was writing my PhD dissertation, that was back in 1981, I landed in London to do some research at the British Library. By that time, it was in Tottenham Court Road, is the computers and the music street, where you can buy any electronics. And I got into a shop and I bought my Sinclair ZX81. It was my first computer. Since then, I've been working with computers. Part of my PhD dissertation was to split the text into words. This is something I can do now in just seconds. Then it took me ages because the computer, it was a TV screen where I didn't have any memory to keep the text. You have to type it in every time you use it. And since then, I've been using computers for many tasks. One of the tasks, for instance, I don't know if many of you work with manuscripts and buy manuscripts from the libraries and Biblioteca Nacional of Spain, and you can get a text from them, and you get them from in a PDF, a huge PDF with 400, 500 pictures, but you can get them GPG images, but you have to download it in stacks of 25. With a small script in R, you can collect them. You put your computer, go to do something else, and you can download it. I have done it with the Biblioteca Nacional, with the Biblioteca del Escorial, Royal Libraries. It's up to you to get all these things. Just last week, I got from the National Library a huge PDF file. I don't use PDF files because it's a mess. A 400 pages long PDF with an old edition. You can use it. I split it, but a PDF, you have to have a PDF reader. You can see it. An image, a GPG image, you can see it on any screen. Well, with a small script in R, I convert it from PDF to GPG and renumber it in the order, the proper order, recto, recto versus, so I can read it and access the text at any moment. 4 or 5 lines of code. So computers are here to help us. They are marvelous. One of the things I'm working now, any of you have heard something about a platform called Transcribus? It's marvelous. I have a rate of 0.77 error only. Less than one word every 160 words wrong, and can be in a space. It gives me the things, the results in Tay, but I can do it. The Tay they gave is rubbish. I have to convert it into this platform I'm using, the Hispanic Seminar of Medieval Studies coding system. I wrote a script in R. It does it for me. I don't have to worry about it. Afterwards, I collected the data. I can do many things with R. I do it with R, but you can do it with Python. It depends on which dialect you begin with. Because I started with BASIC. It was in 1980s. The BASIC was the usual language for computers. From there, I jumped into CPM. Computers are here to help you. Sometimes you will get frustrated. Today, I got frustrated with the computer. But the results at the end are marvelous, because you can do in a fraction of time things that a few months ago, it could take ages. Now I can transcribe 1,000 pages in just one afternoon. I'm working with 7 partidas. It's a huge code of law. It's 750,000 words long, and I have 5 editions. That's a lot of words, and I have to compare. Now I can find any, because of these tools, I can find differences that 2 years ago it was unthinkable, because I can't remember where I saw this, where I saw that. And I can remember now and say to the computer, find it for me, and put all the additions one beside the other and tell me what I have done. I use Python because one of the best programs to collate text manuscripts is Collatex. Because there was a standalone Juxta, but they discontinued and it has disappeared from the marketplace. It was free. It was made in Virginia University. It was a marvelous machine program, but it's not longer available. Well, you can find the Internet Archive. And now we know all the tricks, how to get all things. Also, the people that has the copyright say, I don't want to use it anymore. Well, there's a huge countryside Don't put any gates. I use computers every single day, as I tell you, because I think it's a good tool for us humanists. We can gather tests, we can search our text, we can compare our tests. Don't use the computer just as a huge typewriter, as many people do, or just to watch Netflix. Well, you can do it when you are desperate. But you can be watching Netflix, and you can the computer can do in some work for you in the meantime. So use them and use any of them. But beware, if you fit in garbage, you will get garbage to the nth. I can't say it in enésima potencia. How is it in English? Power of n. So be careful with that, and be careful when interpreting the results. One danger is the cherry picking. That is what fits my theory. That's the only thing. No, do more. It will take you a few minutes more, probably 1-2 more days of work, but don't cherry pick. Do as many tests as you can to make sure of your theory. And one thing I will advise you, share your code, share your data. There's a huge problem because there are some projects that are being done in Spain with public money that are fenced, are paywall. No, not paywall. They don't share a single line of text, not a single line of code. So you can falsify the hypothesis. You have to trust them. I can test if this Lope de Vega work is in fact Lope de Vega, because after having read the paper, they made just one test, a stylometric test, no more. But I can access the test, the corpus they used. So I don't trust it. Make your data available to everyone so they can falsify your text, your theory, or falsify or concur with you.